Things just got worse and worse and worse as the night went on. Again, valiant effort down the stretch for the Bucks. Just too little, too late. Let's go down and let's see what Coach Fletch and the rest of the crew has to say. And as always, go Bulls. So let's head into the locker room right now and see what the guys have to say about that one. Wow. Where do the Buccaneers go from here? What an incredible atmosphere. What a good win for the Tampa Bay Lightning. They snapped a 7-game winning streak. How we feeling, Bucs Nation? It's time to party, baby.
You know that last day before like summer vacation, or the last day like where your brain is already on vacation mode? That's where I'm at right now, running around like a maniac. Yesterday I was on the baseball field and I was running. I don't want to say I was running late, but I had a rush to get back here. Today, nothing in the morning, no type of business deals in the morning, no dinner, no breakfast meetings, no baseball. And today I'm like running like a maniac all over the house. I forget my drink. I go back. I'm like, my brain is already there. Oh, man, we're going to have a lot of fun. We're on the last show before summer vacation, off 2 weeks after today, and I will be back July 28th, Monday, July 28th, right here on the Recher podcast. I'm going on vacation with my family. I'm also coaching in Alabama and coaching in North Carolina, so I'll be back July 28th, but I'll still be putting out content the next couple of weeks too, and also putting out some of my favorite interviews that we've done so far. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok. I'm everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube as well. Jeff Taylor hooking us up with the super chat. If you guys could contribute a super chat, $1, $2, $5, $10, $20, whatever you can do to help us here on the program, we would so greatly appreciate it, especially on a day like today. It's our final show for the next couple of weeks. So if you can contribute via the super chat, please do so. That's the way we can keep this thing rolling. Later on in the program today, listen, big show, like always. 1 o'clock today, Marc Topkin is going to join us from the Tampa Bay Times. He is in Boston ahead of the series between the Rays and the Red Sox, the final series for our Rays before the All-Star break. Going to be exciting to see Junior Caminero starting in the All-Star game. Think about that, man. 22 years old, starting in the All-Star game. Jose Ramirez not taking part because, listen, he's earned it. That guy's amazing. Isaac Paredes, a late add. So the former Rays third baseman and the current Rays third baseman, both representing the American League in the All-Star game in Atlanta. That is really cool. But to see Junior Caminero get the nod, it's very special. Very special. And he'll be competing in the Home Run Derby as well. So we will chat with Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times about all things Tampa Bay Rays at 1 o'clock. 1:30 today, our brand new gaffer for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. So excited to speak to Dominic Casciato, the new head coach for our Rowdies. And man, did you see the new uniforms? Have you seen the new uniforms for the Rowdies? Bro, these are amazing. I gotta play this. I think I gotta play the video, right? I mean, dude, I can't really get over the whole thing. Yeah, we're gonna play the whole 30-second. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but I'm a big soccer jersey fan. Okay, you guys know that. I have tons of them. Pull this up real quick. Here we go. All right, check this out, dude. It's amazing. So fire here, and I'll take off the video. Look at these things, man. Badass. Here we go. Look at that. Sick. Black and green. with the Rowdies on there. I think it's classic. You know, of course, we have the green and the yellow. We have the white jerseys that they have. Phenomenal. But these are amazing. Electrifying threads from our Tampa Bay Rowdies. You can go get yours at the Bay Republic right now. I love them. I love the electrostatic kit, as they call it. I will definitely be wearing those. I will get one soon. I already hit up the admin, like, please, man, like, hook a brother up, because those things are just fire. So we will chat with our good buddy, our new buddy, Dominic Casciato, the new head coach of our Tampa Bay Rowdies, joins us at 1:30 today. We're going to talk Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr., and, of course, more things raising. You guys know me. I'm not one of those people that is very, like, hyperbolic. I don't have trade offers every single day. I don't have these exorbitant, like, hot takes. Like, I say what I feel, and I say what's on my mind, and I don't really care what people think. Now, I have a pretty interesting idea for the new Rays ownership. I don't care who it is, but if this group ends up buying the Rays, or if any group ends up buying the Rays, this is the one thing that I want to see from them. I want to see them make this huge move to completely change baseball in the Tampa Bay area forever. What is that? You're going to have to wait and find out a little bit later on the program. But we're going to start with the MLB on Fox. They've announced their Rays all-time lineup, and we'll get to the Rays trade in a second for Brian Baker, a big right-handed thrower, a guy that can help out the bullpen, which I love. But I want to start with this MLB on Fox all-time Rays lineup. Now, mind you, the first time that they announced this, they went back and changed it because they spelled Fernando. Oh, it's still up there like that. Oh, my God. They didn't take this down? This is embarrassing. MLB on Fox, man, they have been missing big time with these. I don't know if you guys have seen this or not, but we'll break it down right now together on the program. All right, check this out. There we go. Okay, the Rays all-time lineup. So we'll start in the outfield: Carl Crawford, Kevin Kiermaier, and B.J. Upton. See, for that, I don't necessarily hate it. I think when you look at who else could you put in there? I mean, Randy Arozarena would probably be an option, especially what he did there in the 2020 postseason. But for me, you have Kevin Kiermaier for many years, who a lot of people thought was the best defensive player in all of baseball. Not the best center fielder, not the best outfielder, the best defensive player in all of baseball. And I remember back years ago when Joe Girardi, former manager of the Yankees, would say when guys were taking batting practice, we always think, hey, that'd be a good shot, but Kiermaier would run that down. That's a lot. And I don't even know if they were playing the Rays at that time when he said that. That means a lot. So Kevin Kiermaier and his defensive prowess, and also, listen, he had some good runs, especially in the postseason, like later on when the moment was too big for a lot of guys. Not for him. Like, he was all over it. So I give the nod to Kevin Kiermaier. I think Carl Crawford, easily one of the most talented players in Rays history. And then B.J. Upton. I mean, what they did in that 2008 run, it won't be forgotten. Now, could you put a guy like Randy Arozarena there? Yeah, I think you could, but they have him in the DH spot. You can see it there. First base, Carlos Pena. Now, when you look at Carlos Pena, is it him or Yandy Diaz? Now, I think you go with him because of what he was able to do there. 163 home runs, second in Rays history, 39 home runs in the AL in 2009, led the American League. So he had that huge year in 2009, the year after they went to the World Series. Great guy. I wonder if you do this list maybe next year, does Yandy Diaz, because Yandy won a batting title. He was also on that team that went to the World Series. So, I mean, that's one where if you say Yandy, I don't think it's wrong. Ben Zobrist is there at second base. I think you put him there over Brandon Lau, which is tough because Brandon Lau is just strictly a second baseman. Ben Zobrist, we know that he was the ultimate super U guy. But you put him in that spot, he's got to make this team. So I don't have or you could have put him at short and Lau at second and taken, the late great Julio Lugo out of there. But I'm glad that Julio was in there to be able to get some love. And then third base, we know Evan Longoria. That is a very easy decision there. And who's to say that it might not end up being a guy like Junior Caminero when it is all said and done? I mean, you have to have a very illustrious career for that to happen, but Right now, as we speak, it is Evan Longoria. Behind the plate, I was very surprised because it's Whiskers. It's our guy, Dioner Navarro. I understand that. But to me, he wasn't the best catcher in Rays history. He's not the best catcher in Rays. It's Toby Hall. And Toby did not even make honorable mention. They gave it to Wilson Ramos. That's why, like, I know you make these lists and you want to put it out there so that people can debate and discuss. I understand that. But, like, to not have some of these guys on there, not even as an honorable mention, it just shows that it's a very haphazard formulation of this list. And it's just more disrespect for the Tampa Bay Rays. Like, do your homework. If you are MLB something, MLB on Fox, like, you got to do better. Hold yourself to a higher standard. It's bullshit, man. It's terrible. Bad. Starting pitcher, David Price. The relief pitcher, oh, yeah, look at the spelling on that one. Look at the spelling. Fernando Rondini. What the hell is a Rondini? Rondini? It's the Rondini. It's Ron Diaz's knee. It's Rondini. What the are you doing? Like, I just don't understand how I'm such a stickler for spelling. I'm such a stickler for, like, oh, I don't know, giving a shit. It's just, it's crazy, man. And the manager, Joe Maddon. Joe Maddon over Kevin Cash. And I think that's very interesting because I've been thinking about this the last couple of weeks too. Fun fact, side note, the other night at tryouts for Hit Factory, this kid comes by and he's in the bullpen and he's got a Lutz Little League All-Star jersey on, look good, pretty good arm. He just seems like a really nice kid and turns around and it said Cash on the back. And I was like, Cash? Lutz? I go, are you related to Kevin Cash? And he goes, yeah, that's my uncle. I'm like, no way. How cool is that? Really good kid. So maybe he'll be joining up with the Hit Factor. That'd be great. He goes, you know what, coach? He's like, most people ask me if I'm related to Johnny Cash, not Kevin Cash. I'm like, you live in Tampa. How does that? And then there was two other kids trying out around his age, 10, 11, 12 years old. And they were like, who's Kevin Cash? And I go, what do you mean, who's Kevin Cash? It's right. You're trying out for a baseball team. And it's not, you're not mad at the kids, but it's just, I would have never thought, like, every kid that I grew up with knew who the Yankees manager was when I was a kid at that age. Everybody knew. I just feel like, again, that's just another example of the disconnect between the Rays and this city. And I want it to be different. I want it to be better. Kevin Cash is from Tampa. Like, you got to know these things. But Joe Maddon gets the nod here over Kevin Cash. Are you surprised? Are you surprised that he got the nod over Kevin Cash? Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom. It's our final show before summer vacation. I want to hear from some of you guys if you want to call in using the phone or using the laptop. There it is, StreamYard.com/KUK86J2N9A. Join the program. Get in on the conversation. Who would you have as the manager of the Rays all-time lineup? Would it be Kevin Cash or would it be Joe Maddon? Shout out to Benny and my guy, Greg Cruz from down there in Costa Rica. Janet, I'm sorry. 2 weeks, not 3, 2. So we should be, I've been saying 3. Greg Hill, Bart Hill, excuse me, Bart, my guy, Bart. I was just talking about you last night, Bart. You've been with us since day one. Greg DeCruz, I got to go to Costa Rica. If I do, buddy, we'll definitely get together. Shout out to Nathan Elliott. He's all over it as well. What up to all the Rechers watching? I wonder if they are. Good afternoon, Jay. Hello, Tampa from Renee Acevedo. And there's my guy, Ren. Pena over McGriff. Yeah, I think that's another one because Fred did make the honorable mentions. Fred is, Fred's a guy that he had a great career. We know that. 493 home runs, finally gets into the Hall of Fame. But I don't know if he did enough during his tenure with the Rays to really be on this list. If it's a career compilation of the entire thing, yeah, he gets in there. And Boggs probably gets in there at third, right, over Evan Longoria. But for him not being here as long as he was and really not being the crime dog like we saw with the Braves and the Pods and the Blue Jays, I kind of understand that. But, yeah, it's a good point, though. He did make the honorable mention, but Toby Hall didn't. right? Yandy Diaz, to me, is right in there. You look at what Yandy's been able to do with this Rays club, and I'll give you guys the honorable mentions here. Honorable mentions: Kevin Cash, Blake Snell, because we see if they would have won James Shields, I would have got it. But David Price, when he was at his best, I mean, he was fantastic for this team. Scott Kazmir in the bullpen, Jake McGee and Alex Colomé. I was wondering if a guy like Troy Percival might make it. Even Pete Fairbanks, that's been there a while. Wilson Ramos was the catcher. He was here for a year and a half. They got him when he had a torn ACL and he rehabbed for the first half of the season. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Fred McGriff, Brandon Lau, Jason Bartlett at short. I wouldn't have been opposed to that. Willie Adames, and then Greg Vaughn. Just, I don't know sometimes with these lists, right? I mean, you're watching some of it, and the one that really got me was they put out the Yankees one first, and they had Willie Randolph as the second baseman. Now, mind you, Willie Randolph, one of my favorite Yankees. He was the third base coach for those times. He was the great when the Yankees maybe weren't so great. But you look at Robinson Cano, maybe you could put him on there, but obviously he got popped. But there's also a guy named Joe Flash Gordon. Go look up Joe Flash Gordon, 5-time World Series champion, an MVP. This guy was easily the best second baseman in Yankees history. Like, it's not even close. 5 championships and an MVP. Cano wasn't winning an MVP. Neither was Willie Randolph. And when I see that, I'm like, you didn't do your homework. And I don't want to say dreading, but I was just waiting for the Rays list to come out. Because I'm like, if you mess up the Yankees, which should be the easiest one to do, there's no way you're going to get the Rays one right. Not a chance. Not a chance. Maybe you could put Boggs in DH. Maybe. And I take Fairbanks over Rodney any day. See, here's the thing. Fairbanks over a period of time, okay? But at his peak, Fernando Rodney had one of the best seasons of all time. Just go look at that one season. We got to pull it up now. Now it's bothering me. Because that one season he had with the Rays, his stats were so ridiculously good that I didn't know if we'd ever see that again for the Rays. Here, you guys ever go to Baseball Reference? I know this is something for hardcore baseball guys and gals, but if you've never been to Baseball Reference, it is an amazing website. Where are we at? All right, here we go. This is it. Is this it? Here we go. Look at this season for Fernando Rodney. Can you guys see that? 2-2 with an ERA of 0.60. This guy gave up 5 earned runs in 74 2/3 innings, 48 saves. And you guys know I love my whip category right here, the whip. That means walks plus hits per innings pitched. If you have a whip of 1.00, right, you are among the best in all of baseball. Under 1, you're a freak. And I'm talking about 0.9. 0.85, you're talking historic seasons. His whip was 0.777. That is one of the greatest seasons that you're ever going to see. An all-star that year, 5th in the Cy Young voting. He even came in 13th for the MVP voting as a 35-year-old closer for the Tampa Bay Rays. It's one of the greatest seasons of all time. So I get it. And his changeup was, I mean, it was dancing and diving. Like, it was insane. Shout out to Dolan. What's up, Jay? Late for Class Figure Jr. Would want to do home run derby. Hope it doesn't F up his swing. Yeah, buddy. That's something I was actually talking to Aaron Jacobson about this last night. And I was trying to find the paperwork and I couldn't find it because I did the math a couple of years ago of pre-All-Star break home run derby, post-All-Star break, like the participants and what their stats were. And outside of guys like Soto and Carlos Santana, and then I think Pete Alonso, everybody else kind of like went in the shitter in the second half of the season. So certainly something to be mindful of, but it's not just the swing I'm worried about. It's also the break, not having one. 22 years old. We hear this all the time in sports about young players, football, basketball, hockey, baseball, that rookie wall, that sophomore slump, that, oh my gosh, first time playing this amount of games, and they hit a little bit of a wall. Junior is inevitably, that's going to happen to him, but when, right? When is it going to happen to him? And how big is it? And now you go into a situation now where He's not just going there. He's not just participating. He's starting and he's in the home run derby. It's the one of those things when you look at it. When it comes to Junior Caminero and his participation in All-Star Weekend, it really is a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, you look at it and go, could it mess up his swing? Could it really hurt him as far as not getting some rest in his first full season in the big leagues? Yes. I mean, those are very valid concerns, even for the most optimistic Rays fan. But I look on the other side, and I think to myself, this could be Junior Caminero's coming out party. A lot of people around baseball that are hardcore fans know the name. They know he's a really good, really young, really talented young player. They know he's part of the future of this Tampa Bay Rays franchise. But do they really know him? Do the casuals know him? Do the casual baseball fans on the other side of the country know who Junior Caminero is? Well, this could be the way he introduces himself to the mainstream. If he goes out there and wins the home run derby, if he goes out there and hits a home run in the All-Star game, if he goes out there and flashes that $1 million smile and plays with that youthful exuberance that we all have grown to know and love here in the Tampa Bay area, like this could be the Junior Caminero, announcement to the world of here I am, right? This could be Junior Caminero announcing himself to the world as one of the best young players in the game. I'm excited to see it all unfold. I'm not so worried about what's going to happen in the second half because whatever happens, happens. But we could be looking at a coming out party of sorts for Junior Caminero next weekend in Atlanta, and I cannot wait for it. Cannot wait. Let's see. Aki over Julio. Aki was the second baseman. Robert, hope you're well, buddy, there in OKC. Rodney just pumped 87 strikes. And you're right. And he had the hat tilted to the side and that incredible changeup that he had. Edwin Jackson has a perfect game, so he goes over David. Make the rules. You got that right, pal. Big trade for the Tampa Bay Rays today as they bring in a reliever, Brian Baker, from the Orioles. And big dude, North Florida product. Shout out Ospreys. Former North Florida friend is our good pal, Sarah Walsh, played soccer there. So to be able to get him from the Baltimore Orioles, I think it's good because you need help in the bullpen. You need some right-handers that can throw. But for me, I am a little bit worried with the cost, what it costs, because you look at it and you give up the 37th pick in the draft coming up this weekend. Now, you still have the compensatory pick that you got in the Jeffrey Springs deal, number 42, because you're not allowed to trade draft picks like you see in other sports. You can only trade competitive balance picks. So something like this, where you had number 37 and you end up trading it away, Baker, couple more years of control after this. He's 30 years old, a 3.7 ERA in 174 games, a fastball in the mid to upper 90s. He's got a pretty good changeup as well. And you have to think, if you get him here and you get him in the lab with Kyle Snyder, that is going to work out in a huge way. And the other big thing to be cognizant of is the All-Star break coming up. So with the All-Star break coming up, you'll get him here. And I know I just watched from Marc Topkin on social media that he's trying to get up to Boston and be with them starting tonight. But inclement weather and travel and things like that, that may prevent him from being able to be ready. But just think about it. Just get him with the team. He'll probably get up there at some point tonight, even if he's not available to pitch. And at the very least, he'll be ready, for whatever game comes down the pike this weekend. Right. But it's a 4-game set there in Boston in the first half of the season. 7-10, 7-10, 4-10 on Saturday, and 135 on Sunday. So he's going to get into at least one of those games, you would think. But even if he doesn't, he is. There's no way they're going to rush him up there. Why the hell you rushed him up there if you're not going to use him? But just to have the next 7 days or so with a guy like Kyle Snyder, because now, as he gets traded, he's going to be spending the next couple of days focused on getting assimilated and getting used to living in the Tampa Bay area. Like, that's just the nature of the beast. Never forget that, ever. When people discuss guys getting traded and they always talk about the business side, I can't stress to you guys this enough. And that's some of the, I try to ask Ian and I try to ask other former players out there, what are some of the biggest misnomers? What are some of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to professional athletes, when it comes to, what the media thinks or what the fans think? And to a man, the majority of the people say that we're human beings too, that we have to deal with personal stuff that inevitably bleeds over to our profession. As much as we want to say, oh, they're millionaires. They're millionaires. They should be able to compartmentalize. I mean, they get paid handsomely because they're very talented. But at the end of the day, they are human beings. When Steven Souza comes up to me, after I asked him a week after his baby was born, hey, is your life going to change? Is the way that you perceive the game going to change because of you being a dad? And he goes, I don't think so. Well, a week later, Steven Souza ran up to me and grabbed me. He's like, Jay, you were totally right. I'm like, what are you talking about? I totally forgot what he was saying. He's like, I was over 4 strikeouts last night, and I didn't give a shit. He was like, well, I gave a shit, but it didn't matter when I got home. And he goes, my baby didn't care. And it was just like the light bulb went off. It was so much more important to him being a dad, being a husband, right? Like, it put things in perspective. At the end of the day, he's a human being. Anton Strawman, watching him and his 4 kids running around Amalie Arena like crazy children, all between the ages, I think at the time, 3 and 8 or something like that. And I just I'm looking at these 4 kids going, oh my God, that reminds me so much of me and my brothers and sisters growing up, just going crazy. And my mom going, and then my dad going, and that was Anton Strawman. I was like, that's Doug Recher. That's Doug Recher right there. Both balding, both 4 crazy ass kids. The wife just sitting there going like this. They're human beings, right? Brandon Hagel, when he got traded here from the Chicago Blackhawks to the Tampa Bay Lightning, dude, when he walked into the locker room to talk with us, this guy was like, you ever see somebody go to New York City for the first time and their eyes are like this and they're like, what the hell is going on? That was Brandon Hagel. He was like, I don't even know where I'm going to get groceries. I don't know where I'm going to live long term. We can't forget about that stuff. Yanni Gord, when he got traded this year, and he's speaking about how, all right, we got to focus on getting the kids in school. Thank God we came back to a place that we know. So we're just everything's working out. So don't forget about that aspect of it. Don't forget about that aspect when you bring in a guy like, Brian Baker, and you expect him to be really, really good right off the bat. If he struggles a little bit, that's going to happen. It's going to happen. So give the guy some grace. I'm excited because he's a big right-handed 30-year-old. He's got some tread on the tire still, but it's not all worn. There's experience there. And this is a guy from Florida. He's from this area, from around here. So I'm very excited to see what he can do. And I like how the Rays don't always wait for the trade deadline to make a move. This is what we want to see. We want to see the Tampa Bay Rays go out there and make a move. All right. Lastly, before we get to my Tampa Bay Buccaneers discussion about Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr., I want to throw something out there. Okay. This is a little bit of a wild thing. And I don't know if I've mentioned this to anybody except one person, but Rays fans, listen up. So as of now, we don't know necessarily who the next owners of the Tampa Bay Rays are going to be. I understand there was the name that came out and all these different things. And, I told you guys that I know of a group that, is interested in buying the team. There's already 2 groups that Tampa Bay Times have reported on many times. Could be the next owners, but nothing's written in stone. We don't know. It's not going to go for $1.7 billion. I'll tell you that much. It's going to go for at least $2 billion. My thing is that the Tampa Bay Rays new owner needs to make being a Rays fan cool. He needs to make sure that people out there are proud to be a Rays fan. You're proud to spend that disposable income to go support the Rays, whether it's on the Tampa side or the St. Pete side. Even if you're not a big Lightning fan, but you've been to a Lightning game and you're around people and you're talking about hockey, what are people saying? I love the Lightning. I love being there. I'm proud to be a member of Bolts Nation, right? It's different even than the Bucks, because hockey, this is a non-traditional hockey market, right? You've either been a fan of another team, came here, and now you're a Lightning fan, or you probably weren't into hockey that much anyway, and then the Lightning are the team that got you into the sport of hockey, right? That's what the Rays need to capture. They need to capture that essence that the Bolts have. We're hoping that a new ownership group is going to do that. It's going to be different than Stu, and I think just on the surface level, a lot of people are going to be happy with that. But I think you need to take it a step further. I think if you're the Tampa Bay Rays new ownership and you get this deal done, let's say in the next 3 or 4 years, you need to make a big splash in free agency. And I'm talking about a huge splash in free agency. The Tampa Bay Rays need to find a way. And again, this is contingent on them selling the team. They need a star that's going to not only put butts in the seats over the next couple of years, but also when this new stadium opens up. Because you're not buying this team if you don't have plans to open a new stadium. You know the deal. You've been paying attention. So the guy that they need to go out and get is a guy that has become one of the best players in all of baseball. A guy that is from the Tampa Bay area. A guy that has a type of game, a type of swing, a type of defensive prowess that is going to age very well. And this is a guy that little kids can look up to and aspire to be one day. If the new owners take over before the end of this season, I want to see a full court press to bring Kyle Tucker to the Tampa Bay Rays. Now, you go out there and you splash the cash for Kyle Tucker. You plant your flag in the ground that the Tampa Bay Rays are not to be messed with, that this is not the same old Rays, and that this is the sign that we are coming for the throats of everybody in the AL East, not just now, not just 5 years from now, because there's going to be more guys coming down the pike. You match up this incredible farm system and how they develop these young guys with now some of the cash to go behind it and ownership that really understands what it takes to be successful. Kyle Tucker, in my eyes, would be the perfect choice. I know a lot of people will say Pete Alonso, not happening. Not happening with Pete. Not when you have Xavier Isaac, not when you have Trey Morgan, not when you have Yandy Diaz, not right now. Maybe later on as a DH, Pete's not leaving anywhere. And he just signed his deal in the offseason. He's not going anywhere. Kyle Tucker is a free agent after the season. He is going to command big bucks. It's not about getting a guy in a cheap deal. That's another reason why it's not Pete. This is a move to be made to plant your flag in the ground. The Rays are not fucking around anymore. I don't like using the F word unless it means something. It does. This is what you need to see. People need to see, as a member of Rays Nation, that this team is different, that this team is going to go out there and they are not going to operate and do business the same way as the last regime did it. I'm not saying you're not going to go out there and you're going to compete with the Yankees and you're going to compete with the Dodgers and the Mets and you're going to spend all this money all the time. But if you are going to invest into a player that can have the type of impact on the field, off the field, stretching far beyond his playing days with the Tampa Bay Rays, Kyle Tucker is that guy. The Tampa Bay Rays do a terrible job of incorporating their former players and incorporating guys from the Tampa Bay area into their franchise and organization. They just don't do it well. The ones they do, we love. Think about it over the years. Orestes, Dougie Wechter, right? Matt Joyce, Denards. It's not enough. We don't see enough Wade Boggs. We don't see enough Fred McGriff. We don't see enough Tino Martinez, right? You don't casually see those guys at games. We need more of that. You pay Kyle Tucker, and don't tell me they can't afford it. Look at what Shohei Ohtani did to his deal. You can't defer money. Pay him $10 million one year, $20 million the next year, $25 million the next year, and then defer the rest on the back end. Load him up with a big-time signing bonus. This is a great human being, aside from being a damn good baseball player. He married one of my former players' sisters. The Kyle Tucker Foundation did amazing work in Houston. I know they're doing stuff up in Chicago right now as a member of the Cubs. Bringing that here, you don't think him and his wife are both from the Tampa Bay area? They both went to Plant. You don't want those guys down here doing that? If the Rays get sold by the end of this season, I want to see the new Rays owners go out there, plant their flag in the ground, and bring Kyle Tucker home. Kyle Tucker will go down. Like, think about that. If he comes here, the team's going to be good around him. Think about the outfield with Kyle Tucker and Josh Lowe and Chandler Simpson and Jake Mangum, right? With Cam Meisner. Now you're really cooking out there. You're talking about a Gold Glove outfielder in Kyle Tucker. A swing that is slump proof. I've watched this kid hit for the last 10, 15 years. Kyle Tucker. Keep your mind open. Keep your options open. Is it likely? No. But I'm not just going to sit here and spew the same old bullshit that everybody else is. Think outside the box, man. It's fun to explore. It's funny that Robert Cochran. So when are the Bolts going to acquire McDavid? That's so funny that you say that, because I'm still getting people commenting on that trade for Connor McDavid, which was an idea for somebody else. And I was the only person that put pen to paper on what it could be. Isaac Howard was part of that deal. And ironically enough, Isaac Howard ended up getting traded to the Edmonton Oilers. So I guess we were kind of on the forefront for that. And there's still people to this day. It's got over 100,000 views on all of my social media platforms. People are still getting bent out of shape. Oh, it's an overpay for the Lightning. Edmonton Oilers fans, it's not enough. It's so funny. People are still losing their shit. So we like having fun and talking about that kind of stuff here on the Jay Recher podcast. Guys, make sure you go check out my friend Russ, Honest Hammer, Custom Builders, LLC. There is the promo code right there, or the QR code, excuse me. Scan them right now. Residential, commercial, 813-244-0956. My guy, Russ, he is the best. He's just a good dude. He's honest. Like, you can't have a name like Honest Hammer if you're not honest, right? Because people are going to see right through that shit. They're going to be like, yeah, I don't think so. I'm actually sending it to my pal right now. Like, this is what you got to do. Somebody's like, oh, I need this. I'm like, oh, I know a guy. 813-244-0956. 813-244-0956. One more time. 813-244-0956. Give him a call. Give him a call. Tell him I sent you. See, I don't just say this stuff, people. I'm saying it to my friend as I'm texting him right now. He needs a contractor. Go hit up my guy, Russ. Look at this guy. Jeff Taylor. Got to send you out with love, Jay. Good luck on the road and have fun, brother. Thank you so much, Jeff Taylor. Jeff has always contributed with the super chat. Guys, if you can contribute like Jeff, that goes a long way to keep this podcast rolling. Thank you so much, Jeff Taylor. You are the man. Greg, road trip to Costa Rica. I got you, buddy. One of these days, no doubt about it. I'm going to get down there and we will hang out for sure. Greg, make sure you hit me up when you're here in the Tampa Bay area. But yeah, Honest Hammer Custom Builders, 813-244-0956 for all your residential and commercial needs. All right, 24 hours later, with Tristan Wirfs going down, how are we feeling? Are we feeling better? Are we feeling worse? Questions, comments, concerns, leave them there at the bottom of the screen. Usually I have a lot more clarity after 24 hours when it comes to things like that, because you start having more conversations, and a lot of times you get very emotional about it. I'm certainly one of those people that wears his emotions on his sleeve. You guys know that wholeheartedly. And I thought, like, today I would feel more calm. I would be more understanding. I don't really, I'm not feeling too great, to be honest with you, because I spent so much time with Ian yesterday at the cafe, and we were having this conversation last night when we were hanging out with the fellas, and this could be really bad for the Buccaneers. It really could. Oh, and Chan Leonard's in the house. I missed the podcast the last couple of days, so glad to be back. Chan, we missed you, buddy. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. If you want to get in, like Chan, like our guy, Jeff Taylor, hit us up again right here. Appreciate you so much, Chan. Couldn't do this without you. And again, Dolan said this before, Mr. Positivity. I'm usually pretty positive and optimistic, but when this is a very, I didn't even think about this. I did not even think about this. Okay. Nobody's made this comparison yet. I love vitamin water. Great. They're not an endorser. I would love for them to be. I did not like vitamin water for years. And for the last couple of, I've gotten into it. Look at Greg DeCruz in there, baby. Super sticker. You're the best. Thank you, Greg. Every little bit helps, guys. Thank you so much to all of our guys. Jeff Taylor, Chan Leonard, Greg DeCruz. Thank you so much for the super chat. All right. Here's what it is right here. What does Tristan Wirfs' injury remind you of? What does it remind me of? Again, I just thought about this. It reminds me of 2 years ago when Andre Vasilevsky was out for the first 20 games of the season. Remember that? What was the goal for the Lightning? The goal for the Lightning was to tread water. That's all everybody kept saying. We had so many different goals, man. The Matt Tompkins and right. It was just like, oh, what are they going to do? Because you didn't have arguably the best guy to spend. I mean, they're very similar, right? You're talking about champions. You're talking about guys that are at the worst number 2 in their position, right? And missing the beginning of the season. Let's remember. With Andre Vasilevsky, he was not the same guy until very late into the season. And it took him a while. Because remember, it's not just the games that you miss. It's also like the preseason and the anticipation and just like when you're moving with your team, when you're doing all of these different things and preparing and getting your body ready, right? There's a schedule that not just that you're on, but everybody else is on. So you're kind of like peaking and you're going down at the same time, the ups and downs, the ebbs and flows. So when you have to do that by yourself, it's different. You don't know when to rest. You don't know when to press forward because you're on your own schedule. You're a part of a team, but you go into a situation where you don't know if you're really ramping up at the right time. The same thing with pitchers. When pitchers don't break camp, we can say the same thing about a guy like Shane McClanahan, right? When he comes back, it's a slow ramp-up process. I feel like baseball does it the best out of any of the sports just because it's so numerical with pitches and innings and things like that. So I think it's easier for them to understand the build because they do that so precisely in spring training. Starter goes 1 inning, 2 innings, 3 innings, 4 innings, 5 innings. We've had this conversation before. It's not necessarily the same with hockey and football and basketball. They just don't have that. What do you play? A quarter? You play a period? Right? You don't even know. So if I'm a Buccaneers fan, worried's probably too strong of a word, but I am slightly concerned because he's such an important part of this team. And it's not just his impact of not being there and just a guy like Charlie Heck going in there. Is Tristan going to be 100%? Is Tristan going to come in and be the top guy? We hope so. But is it going to take some time? Right? I'm with you. Greg's right. Is he going to be right all year long? Because I don't even know if Vazzy was technically right all year long. Because if you're getting up to speed and you're getting 100% in the middle of the season, that's not ideal. Not ideal at all. So we have to be mindful of this entire situation just solely based on Tristan Wirfs. Just solely based on him coming back. What's he going to look like when he comes back? How long is it going to take him to get back to being that all-pro guy? Is that even going to happen this year? And if it doesn't happen this year, What's the ramifications? Do they not throw the ball as well? Do they not run the ball as well? Does it lead to other guys not playing as well? Does it lead to other guys getting hurt? We don't necessarily know. But it's certainly something to be cognizant of. And that's what concerns me. Again, not worried. He's going to come back. He's not out for the entire year. But what Tristan Wirfs are we getting when he comes back? Dolan, not freaking out about Wirfs. Bucks will have to figure it out. Injuries are inevitable, just a matter of when and who. Chan says that RB room needs to step it up with Tristan going out and talk about the new OC getting a trial by fire. Here is an opportunity. Great point from you. Ian brought this up on Monday. The Buccaneers are going to have to run the football more. They ran it better last season, but you want to take pressure off of Charlie on the left. You want to take pressure off of Baker Mayfield. You want to take pressure off the rest of the offensive line by not having your stud left tackle. Run the football. Run the football, run the football, run the football. And this is why I don't subscribe to the Rachaad White hate. You're going to need him. You're going to need him. Get him out there. Pass protection, right? Catching the ball in the backfield and even running the football. He's not terrible. He may not be Bucky. He may not be a Pro Bowl running back, but he's a solid player. And you need as many of those guys as possible. Shout out to Lady Evil, another one of our valued viewers. How do you feel about Heck? I think he has like 29 starts. Thank you so much for the super chat. Again, if you want to get in on the super chat, feel free to contribute. Every little bit helps. It's our last show before summer vacation. We're off 2 weeks after this. How do I feel about Heck? It's hard to – offensive linemen are so hard to grade as it is, and that's even being friends with Ian and watching the games with him and Tony Mayberry, because I look at the game completely different now. And I'll never, ever suggest that I'm an expert. I don't follow the football as much. I look at the trenches. I look at those battles, the one-on-one, see how guys are sliding protection, see what guys are not getting home, how far guys are away from the play on defense, what offensive linemen are doing, how they're, passing off these different pass rushers. It's tough to tell because you're not just saying, hey, bring this guy in, he's a guard. Bring this guy in, he's going to be a center. Bring this guy in, he's going to be a right tackle. He's a left tackle. It's one of the most important positions on the football field. I like that he's a little older because I think that helps, because you're not necessarily looking for a long-term answer. And that's why, do you go out and get a veteran to come in and play a couple weeks? I don't know, because you might need Charlie at some other point throughout the entire season. So hold the fort down, run the football, and give this guy as much help as humanly possible. Now, luckily, the Buccaneers did a really good job last year as far as their supplementary blocking. When I say supplementary, I'm not talking about their 5 offensive linemen. I'm talking about the O'Keefes of the world. I'm talking about what Kane Otten and Payne Durham and Devin Culp were able to do last year. Those guys took a step forward. So in that aspect, I feel better about that now than if it would have happened last year, because we didn't really see that. We didn't know. Remember, going into the season last year, everybody kept telling you how bad our tight ends were blocking. I even asked Kate Otten that, and he goes, it's a bother, it bothers us because it's not just on the offensive lineman. We need to do better. And they showed that in the 2024 season. They're going to have to do that even more in 2025 with Tristan Wirfs out. Again, thank you for the super chat, Lady Evil. Nathan Elliott, if Wirfs were to cause him to miss the whole season, yes, it would be a problem. He will not be out the whole season. This puts pressure on the defense to keep other teams from scoring. And we're going to get to one of those defenders here in a second. Greg DeCruz, quarter of the season, they have to go 2-2. When they beat the Eagles last year, they used quick passing game. Forget about those deep shots, though. Yeah, and I know that's something that they wanted to do, right? That's something they wanted to get more vertical with the passing game. That's something that they mentioned. Is that going to happen with Tristan Wirfs out? I don't think so. I wouldn't think so. Chan brings up a good point. I see 22 watching and only 11 likes. Come on, guys. The algorithm needs those likes. Everybody right now, please hit that like button. Hit that like button. Every single time you hop on here with us, hit that like button. The more likes that we can get, the algorithm certainly helps. We got a couple of Facebook likes, whether it's YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you're watching it. Kill that like button because every like button helps. Oh, look at Robert. Jay, if you ever find yourself in OKC, let me know. We could grab some lunch or something. But for now, have a beer on me. Robert, thank you, buddy. Thank you so much. And I definitely will hit you up if I'm there. I went to Tulsa one time when I was with USF women's basketball. So if I am there again, I'll definitely hit you up. Vassy definitely wasn't right, and I would argue still hasn't made it back to his highest of highs. He was really good last year. Just nobody really talked about it. Because I don't know if even though the Lightning defensively was better, he didn't make it like a ton of wow saves, right? So I think that's part of the thing. He didn't make that Anze Kopitar behind the back save. But if you look at his numbers, man, he was up there again. I think it's just, we were just like, it is what it is. You get used to, he set the bar so high. New OC, not in an ideal situation. More Sean Tucker. I would love to see that as well. Let's keep those kill that like button for me. Run the ball, play action, quick passing game. There's ways to compensate for a player of that caliber being out a couple of weeks. Thank you, Greg, for the kind words. Dolan, next year's draft, the Bucs need to have a solid backup for Tristan. I know I was reading something on Joe Bucs Fan. You can go check out our guy, joebucksfan.com. They were mentioning that. They were mentioning that Pat Kerwin, former GM in the league, was saying, I can't believe the lack of depth for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers when it comes to their offensive line. Listen, I don't care who you are. I don't care, right? If you are if you're a team that has a guy like Tristan Wirfs, it doesn't matter what you do. You're screwed. You're screwed. There's nobody that you're going to have filling in for that guy. It's going to be a precipitous drop-off. And we mentioned that with Greg Allman yesterday. It's just the way it goes. It's the biggest drop-off you're going to have on this team, even more than Baker to Kyle Trask. Believe that. Same thing with Andre Vasilevsky. It was just like, hold down the fort. Tread water. The same thing. So even if you draft a couple of guys, you're not drafting a left tackle in the first round, knowing you have Tristan there, right? But maybe you attack it with numbers. Maybe you attack it with a couple of different guys. Maybe you bring in a veteran. Ren, Heck always has his feet underneath him and is always under control, but he has a problem with power, something he's going to get tested early and often in this season as they take on the Falcons, who have addressed that pass rush. We had that conversation with Mark Raimondi from ESPN yesterday. If you missed it, it's on our channel, and make sure you get his new book, Say Hello to the Bad Guys, How Professional Wrestling's New World Order Changed America. I'll be reading that on my way to Alabama tomorrow. Smash that like button while you're right here. Nick Bowen. This is what I'm talking about, Nick Bowen. This right here. Just finished yesterday's podcast. I think Sam O'Reilly is a Vince and Troch. You, Nick, you. That is what I'm talking about. That's the kind of shit that I want to hear from my viewers right here on this podcast. Not the same old, blah, blah, blah. He's an Anthony Cirelli clone, blah, blah, blah. Watch the film. Watch what the guy does. Listen, do your homework, do your research. Don't regurgitate and spit out the same old shit. Nick Bowen, good job, my friend. Good job. Always invited. One of these days, the problem is when it comes to Buccaneers games, right, is I'm suited and booted, right? I'm always wearing a suit. I'm always wearing my shoes. And it's hot, man. And I got to get from the parking lot to inside as quick as humanly possible. Once I start deviating and I go to lot number fill in the blank here, bro, my day gets exponentially longer. I'm sweating my balls off. It sucks. It's so bad. So I love to, I have so many friends, hey man, stop by a lot here. We're in town. I'm like, you're on the other side of the world to me. It's so difficult. But if I go as a fan one of these games, Nate, I will definitely stop by. I so appreciate the invite, my friend. Chan, aren't we so glad Baker loves to scramble? He's going to have his choice of opportunities to run out of the pocket. Hopefully they're drilling ball protection heavy in training camp. You got that right, buddy, all the way. Yeah, and I'm just excited. I'm excited about this season. And I'm also excited because of this reason. It's a big year for Antoine Winfield Jr. And one of the things I love every single year that ESPN does, Jeremy Fowler, executives, coaches, and scouts rank the NFL's top 10 for each position. Today, they already did running backs. Okay. See that one. Bucky was an honorable mention, the first honorable mention, which was great. Okay. Then defensive tackles was on Tuesday. Dexter Lawrence 1, Chris Jones 2, Jalen Carter 3, Jeffrey Simmons 4, Quinnen Williams, Leonard Williams, Madubuike, Buckner, Vita Vea at number 9. Okay. So Vea at number 9 for the defensive tackles. Yesterday was edge rushers. I can't believe I missed these because I usually love them so much. Edge rushers, nobody for the Bucs. I mean, you got Son Reddick, no. And then today, safeties, and this jumped out to me because last year Antoine Winfield Jr. was number 1. This year he's number 7. Kyle Hamilton, Brian Branch, Xavier McKinney, Jesse Bates, Kirby Joseph, Derwin James, and Antoine Jr., Antoine Winfield Jr., number 7. Last year, he was number 1. Now, you're looking at a guy that played in only 9 games last year, no interceptions, only 3 pass breakups, 2 sacks, and 0 forced fumbles. Back in 2023, he had 6 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, and 3 interceptions. So, and they say it in the article, like they're going to give him a pass for last year. And you do, right? But if the Buccaneers offense wants to take a step forward this year, as much as we discuss how important it is to have a pass rush, we've seen this for years, right? Definitely don't want to make light of that. It's paramount that they get to the quarterback with 4. But for the Buccaneers to be the Buccaneers, Antoine Winfield Jr. needs to be Antoine Winfield Jr. He needs to be a guy that can single-handedly win you games. Guys that are coming up, a strip sack, fumble. He's got that. There's certain football players that have that knack for making big plays. We have 2 of them with Levante David and Antoine Winfield Jr. in their career. Interceptions, sacks, forced fumbles, fumble recoveries, being in the right spot at the right time. Now, do I disagree with him being at number 7? No. Because this is a what have you done for me lately life that we live in and the game that we watch. We had this conversation with Ian on Monday, and I put it out on social media. I actually did pretty well. Who are the top 3 Buccaneers right now? The top 3 Bucs right now. Not career accomplishments, not who's been good the last couple of years, not if blah, 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 blah. Not if he bounces back, not if he's healthy. No. Right now, who are the 3 best Buccaneers on the team? This is before the injury. Number 1 was Tristan Wirfs. Number 2 was Baker Mayfield. And number 3 was Vita Vea. If I would have asked Ian that question 12 months ago, Tristan Wirfs probably would have been number 1. But who's number 2 and 3? Antoine Winfield Jr. is probably on that list. He was number 1 safety in football, according to ESPN last year. This year, he's number 7. So I don't want to say a precipitous fall off, but a guy that certainly did not play his best football in 2024. Now, 2025 presents new opportunities and an ability for him to be able to make a difference on this team on the side of the football that they just so desperately need to improve on. Because if the Buccaneers want to take a step forward, they got to get to the passer, and they got to have a guy like that play at a high level. And you got Tyke Smith, second-year player out of Georgia. It looks like he's going to settle into that second safety spot next to him. But his play is going to be considerably better if Antoine Winfield Jr. is playing like the guy that we saw not just 2 years ago, but the guy in his rookie season that was chucking the deuce to Tyreek Hill in the Super Bowl. The bar got set so high for Antoine Winfield Jr. and Tristan Wirfs. I mean, we'll link our 3 teams forever and think about some of the tremendous rookie seasons that we've seen, even great second years that we've seen, great young players across the 3 pro sports teams here. And you look at 2020 and look at what Tristan Wirfs and Antoine Winfield Jr. were able to do as rookies, like it's going to be hard to top. It's going to be really hard to top that here locally for anybody with the Lightning or the Rays, but that's the great thing about sports. Every single time you turn on the TV and watch one of your teams, like you don't know, you could see something that you've never seen before. The other night, what we saw, a walk-off inside the park home run in San Francisco, and there was also early in the day a inside the park home run from I think a leadoff hitter. Like that's never happened in baseball. It's a beautiful thing. That is why we watch sports. So we'll see, but it's exciting. Cannot wait for football season, and training camp will be here before you know it. All right, let's bring him in and talk some Rays baseball with our good pal Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times there in Beantown. What's going on, Topper? How are you?
Doing good. Hopefully this rain that's hanging over here blows out of here, and there's no 4-hour delays for games like there were yesterday that could have been played at 1 o'clock with no problem at all.
I saw that, and I'm like, what is going on? When they try to, and I get it, you try to, the precaution, you try to be like, all right, man, we see what the radar says, but more oftentimes than not, it doesn't even come, or it's a light sprinkle, and the tarp's just out there, and everybody's like, we probably should have played right now. And that's it. That's what happened with the Rays.
It was, and it wasn't too horrible. That game still got over at a decent hour, and I would assume they got in at a decent hour, but I can just speak from the selfish inconvenience of instead of flying last night, of having to be on a 7 a.m. flight this morning. The Detroit airport at 5:30 is pretty cool, though. I got to tell you, it's a pretty interesting spot to be.
Yeah, I bet all walks of life there. That's for sure. How's the before we get started? How's your leg? People want to know how you're getting around?
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people are really worried. Now, getting around better, down to just a little light wrap and a cane. Just for the few that don't know the story, broke the kneecap March 15th, walking from the stadium to the locker room to do an interview in Port Charlotte. But this is the third road trip I've been on now. First solo road trip. Mrs. Topkin was nice enough to come on the first one and part of the second one. But this has been a solo trip here. So a lot of people helping out along the way. But did Minnesota, Detroit, here in Boston, and then going to the All-Star game. So a lot to write about these next few days with 3 Rays All-Stars there.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy that you're going to be able to go to the All-Star game. It's going to be incredible. And we'll start right there, Mark. I mean, a guy like Junior Caminero, could this have gone any better for him in the first half? I mean, I understand. I said this a little bit before. I understand the concerns people have. Is it going to mess up his swing? Is he going to be tired? This could be the coming out party of Junior Caminero. Like he's known in a lot of circles around the league, but this could be the opportunity. He wins the home run derby. Maybe he gets a couple hits in the All-Star game, and then he's there in the national spotlight. Like this could be a huge couple of days for Junior, can't it?
It is, and it can be, and I understand what you said at the beginning, and we saw that with Randy Arozarena. We thought a couple of years ago, even though he said it wasn't the case, but he just struggled immensely after the home run derby. So you do wonder. Junior is a younger kid, but we've also seen him kind of have his own little home run derbies in batting practice, and it was funny because I asked him yesterday, hey, do you remember that one in Toronto? And he starts laughing because he clearly remembers it. Cash brought it up to him yesterday. He obviously remembers it vividly. Where, I mean, it was no crap. I mean, the Toronto fans gave him a standing ovation during batting practice. Where does that happen, right? It's right. So crazy. But yeah, this will be a good stage for Junior. I think he's excited about it. He's ready for it. And think of these 24 hours. He doesn't make the team initially. He kind of pointed out his birthday was Saturday. The announcement was Sunday. Would have been nice. Didn't happen. And then he finds out Tuesday night, Bregman, we kind of thought that might happen. Bregman drops out, so he's on the team. So he's like, I'm on the All-Star team. He's really excited by that. We asked him about the home run derby. He said, I can't really talk about it. So I'm guessing that was in the works Tuesday night. And then he announced it on his Instagram Wednesday morning. He was in. So, all right, that's pretty cool. That's the whole story. Then out of the blue, Jose Ramirez drops out of the All-Star game. They announced that. The Guardians announced that last night during the game. And then Elvis Martinez, the Rays PR whiz, makes some calls to double-check what we all thought. And confirms that, Junior Caminero is the starter. He's the starting third baseman in the All-Star game. He's been 22 for 5 days, Jay. I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to guess – I know what I was doing at 22, and I'm going to guess from what you were doing at 22, we weren't at whatever the All-Star game starting level of our professions would be.
No, not at all. I was coaching baseball on a dirt field in Plant City somewhere going, what the hell am I doing out here? It's amazing, man. And that's why, like, going into the season, people are like, are we worried? Are people worried about the pressure and you're putting him in there? And I go, can't really worry about that because he's playing third every day. He's going to probably bat third every day. Like there's just certain guys, and the Rays have done this with a ton of guys where they kind of ease into it. They don't call them up too soon. And certain guys were just kind of built for this. And we saw it in the off season as well, what he was able to do down there in the winter leagues and hitting the big home run and taking 5 hours to get around the bases. He's a different cat, isn't he, Mark?
Yeah. He is young. You have to preface it by that. And you don't know, and for anyone, what happens when he gets more fame? What happens when he gets more money? Does he handle that properly? Does he get wrapped up in that? None of us know the real answers to that. But you go with what you see right now, and he likes the attention. He likes nice things, but he also likes to be really good at baseball. And you listen to him talk, and even sometimes, usually he thanks God, he thanks his teammates, he'll thank his family sometimes. But he'll find a way to mention, in not a really a bragging way, but I also do a lot of hard work. The work I put in, things I've done. And he said yesterday, like, he wants more. This isn't like it. He wants it. All that's happened to him in these last 24, was 24 hours. He wants more. And I think the fact that he's driven for that, he sees, what some of these guys got. And, when the Rays play the Jays, he's out there talking to Vlad Guerrero. When the Rays play the Padres, he's talking to Machado. He wants to be in that group. He wants to be in that circle. And you get there with your performance, you get that with your play, you get there with your contract status. I mean, all the things that come and reward you. I think he wants all those things, and I think he's driven to get all those things.
As far as a long-term deal for Junior Caminero, people have asked, like, you got to sign him now. And listen, there's going to be a natural buyer's beware, whether it's with the fan base, whether it's the organization because of what happened with Wander, but also with the kind of the, flux the ownership is in right now. We can't really expect anything long-term for Junior, right? In the next couple of months. I mean, you would think you want to maybe get out in front of it because the premise of the Wander contract was good. Because if he would have been playing at that same level, it's going to be, if he's still playing at that level now, everybody's like, wow, what a steal. We have to table those talks until we kind of find out the future of this team, correct?
Yeah, I mean, because you think of the Wander deal, just the projection he was on, the level he was playing at, and what that was going to project to be. 9 years from now, he still would have only been making $25 million, and only by that. I mean, players might be making $100 million a year by then. In 10 years or 9 years. I mean, who knows? So that could have been an incredible bargain. But I think you're totally right on 2 points. There is, this kind of remember this is Junior Caminero's first full season in the major leagues. He had the cup of coffee in 23, and he didn't even play half a year last year because he was hurt they wanted him to play at AAA. Then he got hurt again. So, you probably want to, run this season out at least. I don't think they rarely do things like that during the season anyway. But I think there's two factors, just my supposition here. One, you alluded to, if there is going to be a sale and an ownership transfer, right, it's probably not even fair for the current ownership to sign a guy, like make that, you're buying the team. Oh, by the way, we signed this guy for $200 million. We're going to announce that tomorrow.
Right.
That would be one thing. And I still think they need final resolution on the Wander contract, right? I mean, he was convicted of a crime that we think will stop him from being able to play Major League Baseball again, but that's predicated on not the sentence he was given, but the fact that we think the crime will prevent him from getting a visa to come to the United States to play baseball again. I don't think anyone really knows that definitively. We're going by rule of law and what people in the field, legal experts, have told us. There's also, 2 levels of appeal that he can go through and his lawyers can go through in the Dominican court system to potentially get that conviction overturned or thrown out. And then perhaps he would be able to get a visa and show up. So I don't know that if you're the Rays, you have, I guess 2 pots of money. Do you almost have to see if you're still obligated to pay the Franco money before you can give Junior his money? And that's not even fair to Junior when I say it, but yet knowing that organization and maybe the new ownership, if they take over and they decide they're not worried about Franco, they'll pay Junior because they want to take care of Junior. But I think it's hard to kind of do the one without knowing what the resolution is on the other.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I've done more homework on morality clauses and things like this in the last 6 weeks. And, I had this conversation with Greg Allman yesterday, and I mentioned you, and I had this conversation with Mark years ago of like, we really should have focused like on anatomy and biology and law and weather. Like there's so many different things over the years we should have like paid maybe a little bit more attention to, because then we'd have an idea about it. As far as the sale of the team, I mean, we knew, hey, it could be done by the end of the week. It came and went. We didn't see anything. We didn't hear anything. Do you think something comes down before the end of the season, or is this something that you think will be off-season thing?
I think from what we've heard, and I preface that by not under any pretense of like this is direct hotline from Stu Sternberg or Patrick Zalewski, but filtered down through people that I think we at least trust, that they don't expect the thing to be finalized if it goes through until after the season, like a transfer of power or whatever. But I don't think any of us know what's happening now. Is it still ongoing? Is it closed? Is there going to be an agreement announced first and then the closing, or is it all going to be announced at once? I don't know any of that, but I think if you think back in these type of things, and maybe the Bucks one isn't as great of an example because that was it was like an open bidding process on that one. Because remember, Steinbrenner had one group, and the Glaziers were one group, and then there was another local group. But typically, these things, when they get done, is when it's quiet, and it's quiet right now.
Yes.
Even like there was some talk. Remember when the first report came out about Zalewski, then Trip Miller was talking. He wanted to get in. He wanted to buy a group. He wanted to put together a group. He still wanted in, and obviously, we know there was the Joe Malloy group was involved and really wanted to pull this off. So the fact that it's all been quiet makes you think something's going on, but I don't know that anything's going on, that there's going to be anything imminent either.
Yeah, I know the Malloy group. I have a lot of friends that are kind of on the periphery there, and they still feel like they're involved. They still feel like their voices, just as loud as some of the other ones, regardless of the news we heard the last couple of weeks. I want to ask you about the trade today. I mean, you go out and you give up draft picks are so funny in the MLB, right? Draft picks are worth its weight in gold in other sports, right? And then the MLB, it's like, well, sometimes you look at the competitive balance picks, and sometimes you're like, you're not going to see that guy for 5 years, so it's almost out of sight, out of mind. And other times it's like, all right, maybe the guy will be here in a couple years, and especially with how college baseball has been the last couple of seasons. Tell us about the deal and what the Rays are getting in this 30-year-old right-hander.
Well, they're getting something they need, right? I mean, I've written it. I'm sure you've said it. I know. Local radio said it. I mean, anyone who's writing about the Rays has brought it up. They need bullpen help.
Yeah, they do.
They need bullpen help. So give Eric Neander credit for doing this on, what is today, July 10th?
10th, yeah.
Not waiting till, it's the trade deadline, so you have to wait till July 30th or 31st to make a deal. And just talked to him a few minutes ago before getting on with you, and haven't put it out in the story yet, but he basically said, that, this is something they've been thinking about, and not as reactive, he said, to the last couple of weeks, the last week or so. Whether that's true or not, I'm sure that has kind of exacerbated or turned up the need to do it. But he said they knew they needed to address the bullpen, felt like they got a good guy. And in a way, he said by the draft pick being the return kind of expedited it. Whereas if you're talking about players, sometimes teams are like, hey, we're focused on the draft. Let's pick this conversation up next week or so. And but this is kind of, they like Brian Baker, and Orioles had some interest in the draft pick, so they're able to swap it out and make the deal today. And Baker may be here tonight. But I think the way Neander put it, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, you get these draft picks hoping they become big leaguers, right? Well, we made this draft pick a big leaguer today. Well, all right, good point, right?
Definitely. Yeah, I think sometimes you fall too much in love with draft picks, and it's like you keep building for the future. Eventually, there's got to be a now. There's got to be a all right, we're good now. What's the update on a guy like Shane McClanahan? I mean, this is a guy, I saw him last year. He's like, I want to come back. He was so excited, and I know it was just heartbreaking for him not to be able to be out there. He's taking to Instagram to keep us all posted on how everything is going with his bullpens here and there. I know he threw the inning the other day. What's kind of the forecast? What do you think, Mark? Are they going to build him back up to be a starter every fifth day? Is he going to be an Andrew Miller type where it's like, hey, you could be an opener, you could be a sixth inning guy, a ninth inning guy? Like, what do you think the prognosis is for him on as far as when he can return and how they're going to utilize him when he does get back with the club?
No, I think this is all designed to build him back up to be Shane McClanahan again, and be that starter, be that 5, 6, 7 inning guy, be that dominant guy who's going to go out on the mound. And that day when everyone who walks to the clubhouse goes, oh yeah, it's Shane's day, we're going to win today. That kind of attitude that goes with an ace type of guy. He's going to pitch Sunday for Durham is the plan right now. Probably take most of this month. I mean, the starting pitching rehabs, you get 30 days. So his rehab expires on August 7th. And, because you're only going to pitch the guy every 5 days, you can hurry up a reliever rehab and get him ready in a week or so because he can pitch 3 times. But a starter, you're going to stick to that 5-day. And then because the minor leagues are all off on Monday, at some point it catches up to you and you got to pitch him on the 6th day because there's no games on Monday. So I think right around, early August, maybe late July, if depending on how it falls. But you want to get them built up. Usually they want to get them built up to 5 innings and close to 100 pitches, basically like the end of spring training.
Right.
And that's where he was. And he hasn't done that since March 22nd. So he needs to get out there and he threw the 1 inning in the complex league. He'll probably throw 1 inning Sunday and then probably 2 the next time. And sometimes they repeat it 2, and sometimes they let you go to 3. And it depends on how many pitches and the effort involved, and are you laboring, and even the weather sometimes, all that plays into it. But I think the idea is that when they get, right around there, and like maybe it just happens to line up knowing Shane, he loves the spotlight. Maybe he comes back for that Dodgers series at Steinbrenner Field and pitches. He can pitch against Glasnow, he can pitch against Snell, he can pitch against Ohtani. I mean, I can just see Shane like lining it up and being on the mound for one of those games. But that's what I think is he'll come back around then. And look, if you got to bump somebody out of the rotation, if everyone's still healthy and everyone's still pitching well, and you got to bump somebody out, in the Rasmussen, Joe Boyle piggyback thing, that probably won't still be going on by then. I would assume that Rasmussen will either be back to, going deeper, but maybe it still is. What's Taj Bradley doing by then? What's Shane Baz doing? Is Littell still here? There's a lot of things that could happen, but I think if the worst thing in the world is they've got to figure out how do we squeeze this McClanahan guy into our rotation because everybody else is healthy and pitching well, that'll be a really, really, one of those good problems to have.
Yeah, our guy Rich Hollenberg calls it champagne problems. You got that right, buddy. Yeah, I'm glad you said that about champagne.
Let me stop you right there. Rich Hollenberg's entire life is champagne problems.
Look at that hair. Look at that. That's one thing Ron Diaz would. He would just every single time Ronnie D would have him on this. Rich Hollenberg, great hair. I'm like, Ron, you got a problem, buddy. You're obsessed with this guy's hair.
The hair, the tan, the clothing line, the endorsement for the clothing line. Yeah,
he's all over it, man. Yeah, you bring up a great point about McClanahan too, because people think, oh yeah, just get him in there. He can throw one day, he can throw 2 days later. Like when you're a starting pitcher, you have to go through your 5-day routine. You gotta do your flat ground work. You gotta throw your side session. You gotta do all these different things to build up. You can't just go out there and be like, hey, I'm here, and the next 4 days you're just sitting on your ass doing nothing. Mark, before the trade deadline, what other positions do you think the Rays will target? They could bring in possibly another bullpen guy, maybe, and then also do they address any of the position players? Because man, it just seems like you're sending down Meisner, you're sending down Curtis Mead, and it seems like the offense doing pretty good. You finally get Hassan Kim back. If there's any other tweaks for this roster, what do you think Eric Neander is going to be looking at?
Asking me just my opinion, I'd go get another reliever. Probably another lefty. Mason Montgomery's got really good stuff, but he probably got a little bit of like a bonus run here because they didn't really have any other real left-handed options down at AAA as far as, proven established reliever. So if they could go out and get a proven lefty to complement Garrett Clevenger and have that second guy, or at least like back from the Joe Madden days, the righty that pitches like a lefty. Somebody who can get the lefties out. But I think they need another weapon against good left-handed hitters. Clevenger can't do it every time. And, he was good yesterday, but we saw him struggle a little bit in a couple previous outings. So I would think that, just my opinion, another lefty. And, it is weird because they seem to have too many position players, but then Christopher Morel never plays, and that's been kind of a dead spot a little bit on the roster. And it's a little awkward to have Caballero and Walls and Kim and Brandon Lau all playing shortstop, second base. You need somebody to still play defense occasionally for Caminero at third, but carrying, those 4 guys for what's really 3 spots is a little weird. The fact that Caballero can also play the outfield and has done okay out there, I think makes it work for now. But, if you could turn one of those spots into a real right-handed power hitter type of guy, and I don't know who that is, I don't know how much you would have to or would want to pay for him. If Eloy Jimenez suddenly got healthy at AAA, which he hasn't been most of the year, and suddenly started hitting like Eloy Jimenez of a few years ago, that could be that guy. But if you were going to go out and get somebody, and there might be a little cautionary tale for them. They tried that with Nelson Cruz a few years ago, and it kind of backfired. And Joe Ryan, by the way, will be in the All-Star game this year. So, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But if you and I were just sitting there in the lavish Jay Recher podcast studio, pre-production meetings and talking about this, I would think a lefty reliever and a right-handed power bat position TBD, probably outfielder DH type, that would probably make the most sense.
Yeah, it's funny the positional redundancy that they have. And it's one thing too, Mark, if like Caballero was okay and like Walls was okay, but like no, you have a guy that leads the league in stolen bases, then you have another guy that leads the freaking world in defensive runs saved. So it's not like they're just like kind of good. They have their plus, their plus skill is like plus. So it's not so easy to be like, hey, let's just get rid of Caballero, man. He's kind of the odd man out here because he can play so many different positions. He's adequate at the very least in the outfield, and he's an absolute threat on the base pass. So it's just like, you're right, man. Where do you let go? And the Christopher Morel thing, it's almost like you let him go. It's an admittance that it didn't work out, the trade with Paredes, right? So there is a little bit of like, we try to bring this guy in. You want to exhaust every single opportunity to give this guy a chance to succeed. I just don't know if he's ever going to do that.
Well, and you're not playing him, right? If you're playing him every day, and he's had a couple home runs, he's had a couple big hits, but he's not playing very much. And I understand why. Jake Mangum is probably the most underrated player in the major leagues, or in that group right now. You look at what he's done and how good Chandler Simpson's been since he came back up. So I fully understand why Chris Morel isn't playing. But, as you kind of make those hard decisions and look at this roster, you're not really using that position. You could use some more right-handed power. It seems like that's something you'd look at doing.
TB Times _Rays on Twitter/X. I say this all the time when Mark's on, all of our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. Subscribe to the Tampa Bay Times today. I'm an old school, read the newspaper every kind of day. That's my routine. It's been like that since I was a little kid. That's how I learned to reading through the Mets and the Yankees lineups. That's just what it is. And I read the Tampa Bay Times sports section freaking every single day. Again, get a subscription for yourself, get it for a loved one. And now is the time of year, especially. Go get a subscription. Right now, when Mark is following this team, he's covered this team better than anybody, and as long as anybody. When you go to the All-Star game, the stories that come out of the All-Star game, really, you just don't know. You don't know what's going to happen at the Midsummer Classic. You don't know who Junior Caminero is going to be talking with and hanging out with, what he's going to do in the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. That is why you want to follow our friends at the Tampa Bay Times. Subscribe today. Again, get it for somebody. If you already have one, get it for somebody that you love. Mark, always a pleasure, man. Thank you so much for making some time for me today. Have a great rest of your weekend. Safe travels, and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Appreciate the kind words.
Thank you, buddy. The one and only Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. Again, I say this when we talk about Bob Herrick when it comes to golf. There's no other person that I would rather talk Rays baseball with than Marc Topkin. It's just such a wealth of knowledge, and he's always been so great to me over the years during my time at WDAE and now here on the podcast. He's the man. He's all over it. And it's just so great to see Mark banged up, obviously injured, breaking his kneecap, and now being able to go to Boston, to be able to go to the All-Star game. Like, think about Detroit, Boston, Atlanta. Pretty damn cool. For our guy, Marc Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times. All right, let me tell you about my friend real quick. Honest Hammer. TheHonestHammer.com. Go there now. 813, not right now, but if you need something, 813-244-0956 for all of your residential and commercial needs. Check out this website. It's clean. Again, 813-244-0956, TheHonestHammer.com. It is clean as a whistle. This guy can take care of it. And another thing, let's not forget, he's a Tampa Bay sports fan. This guy gets it. This guy's just like you and me, and you want to support local. We were just talking about supporting local when it came to the Tampa Bay Times. You also want to do that for our friends at Honest Hammer Custom Builders. They can take care of you. 813-244-0956. Give Russ a call. Licensed and insured Florida General Contractor, CGC 153-1166. No project too big. No project too small. This guy can take care of you. We're talking pre-engineered metal buildings, bathroom remodels, kitchen remodels, commercial construction, new construction, interior and structural renovations. He does it all, and he's also a great human being. He's just a really solid dude. Scan that QR code right there in the corner of the screen and give him a call. 813-244-0956. Tell him that you heard it right here on the Jay Recher podcast. And we will continue to talk about Honest Hammer, my guy. Okay, so one of my best friends is actually coming in town, and he's actually going to go over to the Dignitary Cafe. And you are, of course, more than welcome to head on over there, 4817 Southwest Shore Boulevard, and check out our friends over there at the Dignitary Cafe, Kava, Kratom, and a whole lot more. This is our last show for the next couple of weeks, and we'll go from there. Just trying to make sure that I have everything for you guys here. So, yeah, leaving for... And shout out to, I just saw this for Wimbledon, Amanda Anisimova. she beats Arena Sabalenka 6-4, 4-6, 6-4 in the semifinals of Wimbledon. She advances to the final. Born in Jersey, grew up in Florida. Her second major semifinal. Unbelievable to beat Arena Sabalenka, the number one player in the world. She goes on. It doesn't get any easier because Iga Swiatek, who she plays in the final, she's amazing, an amazing player too. But just so great. Another American baby. Let's just keep this thing rolling. Unfortunately, we saw Ben Shelton lost to Yannick Sinner, which is still kind of weird because Sinner was down 2 sets to a couple of days ago. And I forgot, what was the guy's name? I can't remember. Dimitrov, sorry. And Dimitrov has to retire because he was banged up 5th straight, I think, major in a row or Grand Slam in a row that he had to exit due to injury. Your heart goes out to the guy. So now you look at, all right, well, what's it going to look like tomorrow? The semifinals. You have Carlos Alcaraz against Taylor Fritz representing the U.S. and then Yannick Sinner against Novak Djokovic tomorrow at 8:30 and 10:30 in the morning. Listen, one thing that it comes to me being like a nerd and I'm a geek, right? I love all sports, right? So I get excited by things that maybe other people don't get excited about. But one thing that I do, I said do. Who's going to make fun of me now? One thing I do is that I tell people when to get invested in the sports if you're a casual. I know exactly the games and the players that you should be watching if you're a person that doesn't watch it all the time. Tomorrow morning, 8:30 and 10:30 on ESPN. That is when you want to tune into Wimbledon, okay? The first match between Carlos Alcaraz, who many people think is the number one player in the world, even though he's second ranked in Wimbledon, against Taylor Fritz, an American. And then at 10:30, the number one seed, Yannick Sinner, against Novak Djokovic, one of the greatest, if not the greatest tennis player of all time. So tomorrow, 8:30 and 10:30, the Grand Slam Showdown. Go check it out. It will be worth the watch. Dominic Casciato will be joining us on the program here in a bit. I always look up like random videos for people and to see if we Dominic Casciato. I mean, I'm so excited. And this is a little surprising to me. See if we can play this right. Hold on. It's got a great accent. Great accent from London. Okay. So he's joining Tampa Bay after recently leading Union Omaha to back-to-back player shields and the victory in last year's USL League One final. So again, USL League One is the one right under the USL Championship, the league that we play in for the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Looking for stability for this team. After Robbie Nielsen got let go, Steve Coleman has stepped in and done a really good job as the interim head coach. When this team gets back to prominence, when this team gets back to being one of the best teams in the USL, we're going to look back at the job that interim coach Steve Coleman did, and I think we're going to look very, very favorable on him. He's a guy that really focused on the history and the tradition of the club. It wasn't so much about the X's and O's. It was more about, hey, like, let's make sure that we know who we're playing for, who we're fighting for, all these people that are here supporting us. I love that approach. I love that approach because of how it happened and when it happened. Do I necessarily want to see that type of approach before the season? Probably not, because you do have to, you're at that level, you're working with the team to bring players in. You're not just the head coach, right? You're worried about everything, the acquisitions, the formations, all this different stuff. But when you're an interim coach, when you're a guy that was on the staff, then you come in, you can't really go in and just start changing everything because A, you're just the interim guy, and B, that's a lot to ask from these players in the middle of the season. So what do? What do you focus on? And what he was able to focus on was, hold on, buddy. Okay. What he was able to focus on was the things he could control. And the things that he could control I'm communicating with the Rowdies real quick. What the hell? Okay, we're good. He's going to be a couple minutes late, but that's right. But that's the hard. You don't have a producer. You got to do this. You got to do all this shit yourself. Lost my train of thought. Oh, okay. So when you're assistant coach Steve Coleman, you come in. You're the interim. What are you focusing on? Right? How are you going to come in and make a difference? Well, the way you come in and make a difference is you focus on the things you can control. Doing right in the community, being leaders on the pitch, working hard, your effort, your work ethic, and then just reminding these guys the club that they're a part of, the Tampa Bay Rowdies. Buddy came up to me yesterday and was like, "Oh, my friend was on the team back in 2010 when they won the championship." And I was like, "Oh yeah, Jeff Attinella?" He's like, "Yeah, of course. Love Jeff Attinella." And Jeff, of course, a big time friend of the show. And Carlos Rueda, what do you think about the new kid? Carlos, you're joining us late, buddy. I showed it before. It was fantastic. I'm so excited about the new kid. I'm just excited about everything. It's a new day for our Tampa Bay Rowdies, and we're going to bring in the new head coach of our Rowdies. Come on, you Rowdies. It's Dominic Casciato joining us. Coach, so nice to finally meet you, man. I'm very, very excited to chat with you today. How are you?
Yeah, good. Excited to be here. Excited to talk to you too, Jay.
Yeah, man, this is great. I'm one of the big supporters of the Rowdies here in the media here in the Tampa Bay area. So we will definitely become friends. You'll see me around a lot. So I'm actually going on I say that now. I'm actually going away for 2.5 weeks. I'm actually a baseball coach myself. So I'm traveling to Alabama and North Carolina and going to visit my family in New York. So you won't see me for a couple of weeks, but when I come back, you'll see me a ton at Al Lang. How does it feel, man? How does it feel to get there on the training pitch, to be there, to be part of such a historic club here with the Tampa Bay Rowdies?
Yeah, I think for me, it's a real honor to be given this opportunity. I think it's a responsibility that I'm really looking forward to carrying. And I'm just really excited about the project, the history of the club. I think the direction the club wants to move in for the future. All of these things are really, really exciting. Obviously, being back on the East Coast, I was in New York a long time. Being back on the East Coast, being in Florida, being in Tampa, knowing what this club means to the fans, it's just been such a great opportunity, and I'm really looking forward to getting started with our first game and then eventually getting our first game at El Lang as well.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I was just mentioning before you hopped on about the job done by interim coach Steve Coleman, and it's tough when you go in there and you're kind of taking the reins of a club and you're kind of moving over to that different seat. And I just loved his approach of not trying to change too much with the formation, with the X's and O's, just focusing on the history of the club, focusing on like the pride and the effort and the little things that you can control. How important is it to be able to have him still with you, and just how was that transition with him, kind of learning about the team? How, easy, not I want to say easy, but how has he helped you kind of assimilate yourself and get used to being around the Rowdies?
Yeah, no, it's been good. Obviously, I think Steve done a really good job in terms of stabilizing the team. Like you say, not trying to rip things up and just stabilizing the ship and get it in the right direction. Obviously, results started to turn around under Steve, and I think the players really responded to him. I think for me, he's been a great resource, right? Like we had a phone call that lasted, I think, about an hour and a half before I came in. I think it was, maybe Tuesday night, where we spoke at length, and he kind of gave me the rundown of how things are going, what's working, what's not been working, what we can still do to improve. So him and the rest of the staff have been a great resource for me as we move things forward.
And you got the new kit that we just released today. And I was like, wow, what a great way to I was like, holy smokes, man, that thing's pretty badass. When you see a new, I'm a kit fiend, man. I got them all over. I'm a big United fan. My great grandparents are from Manchester. So I have like Ronaldo's, and I have all these different kits that I usually wear. How cool is it to be? I'm like a kid. I'm like a little kid when it comes to that stuff. When you see a new kit being launched just a couple of days after you join the club, that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, no, I'm used to obviously the yellow and the gold, right? The green and gold, but it's always good to freshen it up as well.
What is your style of coaching? When people ask you that, like what when they say, hey, the Rowdies are going to be this is going to be their identity, how would you answer that question?
Yeah, I think we're going to try and dominate games, right? We're going to try and dominate the game with the ball, which means we're going to try and get into the attacking half under control. We're going to try and create chances. We're going to try and score goals, right? And I think if we do that with the ball, people are going to be entertained when they watch us play. We're going to play great football, and the players are going to enjoy playing that way. I think without the ball, again, we're looking to dominate the game, right? We're going to press teams higher. We're going to make sure we get in people's faces and make it uncomfortable for them, especially when we're playing at Al Lang, because I think that's the Rowdies way, and I think that's what this club is all about.
Yeah, wait till you see like the Ralph's mob and everybody out there. Like on a weekly, it's just they're relentless, man. They don't stop. And listen, there's been some dark times this year. Some of the games early on in the season where the result was just probably some of the worst that I've seen, at least in my time here in 20 years. And they didn't stop. They supported the entire time. And one thing that I have belief in this team kind of turning things around is what I call the core four guys that have been here the longest. When you look at Aaron Guillen and Forrest Lasso and Lewis Hilton and Leo Fernandez, when you have four guys, Coach, that have been here for so long, how do you kind of lean on them in times of transition? How do you lean on them to kind of take your message and to be able to disseminate it to the other players in the club?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I actually met with those guys yesterday. I called all of the players when I was coming into market on Tuesday. So I spoke to everyone on Tuesday and then sat down with those kind of experienced players that you're talking about alongside Thomas. We sat down, had a meeting yesterday after training, after our first team meeting, and just kind of picked their brains, gave them some feedback in terms of what I was seeing and, you know, the direction I want to take things in. And I told those guys, look, you know, if we're going to get this thing moving in a direction that we all want, because ultimately we're all here for the same reason, right? We want the Tampa Bay Rowdies to be successful. We want to bring pride and joy to this community and to our fans. So for us, it was having that conversation, you know, having open dialogue in terms of what's working, what's not working, what do we need to do, and then making sure that the messages that we're giving the players, or I'm giving the players, and the rest of the technical staff are giving the players, those experienced guys are helping to hammer home that message, right, in the locker room, on the field. They're the coaches on the field for us, and we're very, very fortunate to have, one, such experienced players, but then two, experienced players with so much quality as well.
Yeah, you mentioned Casty. Like he's been. We're so glad that he's back here. I mean, to be able to be back with the club, very, very exciting. I want to ask you about one guy in particular, Leo Fernandez, and you know, a guy, a former MVP of the league. This is a guy that, you know, I ask him about this. Like, where's your, you know, where are you a guy that plays out to the, you know, out to the wing there? Are you a guy that's a number 10 that plays a little bit more centrally focused? When you look at it, early response, because I know it could change. You know, obviously being around, you see how the games kind of develop. Where do you see him as like his best position and how he can impact the team the most? Because I know he likes to play, you know, in the kind of towards the inside in the middle of the pitch a little bit more. But man, his service is so good from the outside, even just in the normal run of play. It doesn't even have to be, you know, a spot kick or anything like that. This is a guy that can really do some damage. So when you look initially, how do you think Leo can help the team, and where do you think the position that fits him best?
I think as long as Leo's on the pitch, he'll figure the rest out. I think Leo's
great point.
He's got so much quality. I had a conversation with him earlier about this. He's got so much quality that wherever he's going to be on the pitch, he's going to find a way to be effective, because that's who he is and what he's done all his career. Right. I think he's also a great guy, right? Who knows the club, who knows the values that the club have, and can help transmit those values to everybody else. Obviously, he's a little older now than he was, as we all are. Right. So we have to manage him carefully. But I think Leo Fernandez, when available, when fit, needs to be playing for this football club. And obviously, where that is on the field obviously depends on a few different things. But I think wherever you put him, you know he's going to sacrifice and work for the team. And to me, that's always the most important thing.
Coach, when I was looking up when the news came down that you were joining the club, I was looking at your history and I was like, wow, El Paso Locomotive. And, you know, with being so in tune to what happened with the U.S. men's national team, you see what, you know, Diego Luna and how he was able to kind of like rise up and to really make a name for himself during the Gold Cup. What do you remember about your time with him? And can you take some of the traits from a guy like that and say, hey, I look for some of those similar traits and characteristics of players on your team that can kind of take their game to the next level?
Yeah, Diego was obviously a super special talent, right, and could do things in training that would blow your mind. But we have guys that can do that as well, right? I already spoke about, you know, Leo really impressing me, and I've known of Leo for a long, long time. I was based in New York for a long time when Leo was coming up through Stony Brook and making his way in the professional ranks. So we have guys that can do really special things as well, right? I think with someone like Diego, and I think this is normally the difference between top players and top teams and average players and average teams is the mentality, right? Is that mentality to always get after it, to always give your best, to always fight and sacrifice for the team. And I think this is a group that has that and just needs to show that a little bit more.
how do you take into account where you guys are at in the table, right? Because obviously the mindset is always going to be like, you got to play it one play at a time, one half at a time, one game at a time. But, looking where you're at and you're just, 6 games out, but there's a couple of teams ahead of you that have played more games. How do you find that balance to make sure that you're taking it one day at a time, but also having that urgency of going like, hey, we obviously haven't done ourselves any favors early on in the season, but we got to kick things into high gear so we can get back, into the top half of the table so we can really make some noise and make the postseason. How do you find that balance?
Yeah, I think you do have to take it one game at a time. And I think if you do that, you can build momentum, right? If you get too carried away with yourself, then I think you can lose momentum and then obviously you lose sight of what's important. I think obviously the best way to do that is not taking it one game at a time, it's taking it one day at a time and one training session at a time, right? And one exercise at a time and giving absolutely everything you got in every single exercise. And I think if that's our approach to practice, then the games become easy, right? Because you're flying in practice. When you're flying in practice, you go into games and the game is the easiest part of the week, right? Mm-hmm. When results are not going your way or things have not been quite the way you want them to or you're used to them being, then obviously things become a little bit more complicated and the game becomes more challenging on the weekend. But when you build momentum by working really hard through the week, by having confidence, by having a very clear message, which is what I'm trying to give the guys, then I think when it comes to game time, it's just about executing and repeating what you've been doing all week.
What's the most important thing for you? Obviously, I mean, I'm a United guy, so I follow the close of the Ruben Amorim. They brought him in. He goes, I really want to start in the beginning of the season. They're like, you got to take the job now. He's like, okay. But he said how difficult it was, like to start in the middle of the season. Obviously, they switched from a back four to a back three, so it's a completely different system altogether. What's the biggest adjustment that you have to make as far as implementing your style of play based on what you've already seen from the team this year? Are we going to see a drastic change, a minimal change? Because it's tough. Like sometimes if you do have to make a change, like we saw with him, you got to go through the storm a little bit. You got to go through some of the negativity before you start playing the way that you want to play. How do you kind of find that, all right, I want to implement my style, but if we do it too much, then we might put ourselves behind the 8 ball too much to not be able to make the postseason. So what's that thought process like?
Yeah, I think that comes down to my judgment of the group, right? Like in terms of what I feel like they can take on and implement now and then what might be best saving for later. These first 2 days of practice, we've just looked at a lot of defensive stuff and kind of prioritizing how we want to defend and what that looks like. And I think once you nail that piece, then you can start to add more bits in. But I think the skill of the coach is having a judgment to know, all right, I can add this now and this bit has to wait, right? Or okay, now they're ready for this piece. And obviously I'm gonna take that on a kind of day by day basis in terms of where the group is at and how things are going. But it's not an exact science, right? And I think that's the beauty of coaching is you have to have your finger on the pulse of the group and where they're at and be able to adjust when you need to, because you've got to be flexible. And I think probably never more so than when you're taking over a team mid-season. This is the first time I've done that. So it's a great challenge for me and one I'm really embracing.
What do you like about, and maybe not what do you like about, but one thing that I try to, because again, the sport is growing here in the Tampa Bay area, and I've always tried to find ways to be able to, especially a couple of years ago when the USL Super League became a thing and teams were trying to break away there in Europe. I was explaining it to the people here that maybe aren't big soccer fans by using an analogy of like college football. Like if Ohio State and Alabama left and they try to make their own conference, and that's kind of like, Real Madrid and Man City going, yeah, we're going to do our own thing over here. But there's the beauty of the pyramid. There's the beauty of the promotion and the relegation and the cup competitions. What can you say about as far as like what the USL, I mean, obviously coming from League One and just seeing, even some of the cup games that we've seen already this year, they've been fantastic. How important is that going to be over the next couple of years to grow, not just the game, but the USL as a whole to be able to, just continue the rise of this sport in this country?
You mean the Jägermeister Cup? Or?
Yeah, all of them. I mean, just the fact that we have them. I mean, we didn't even have them a couple of years ago.
Yeah, no, look, it's great to have more competition. I think having more competitions and more games is going to just get more exposure for the game in this country and allow, more people to follow the game, to be exposed to it and to fall in love with it, right? In the same way that you and I did, however many years ago. So, no, I think it's only a good thing to have more competitions. I think, from our standpoint, obviously we're in the Jägermeister Cup, which I think is a great addition. Obviously, things have always been about the playoffs in US sports, not just in US soccer, but I think adding promotion and relegation gives a really nice, different twist to things. Maybe puts us more in line with how the game operates in the rest of the world. And I think that's going to lead to the level of competition becoming a lot higher and there being way more meaningful games throughout the course of the year, because something's always going to be on the line, right? I think right now, if you're not in a playoff spot, some teams may have the mentality that, okay, we can just wait and go again next year. Whereas if you're going to get relegated, you can't do that, right? You've got to be fighting until the end to stay up. So I think it's going to make things more competitive. I think the coaches are going to get better. I think the players are going to get better. I think the fans are going to be more invested. And I think all of those things are great things for the game in this country.
Before I let you go, what do you like to do off the pitch when you're not around the game? Are you a movie guy? Are you a golf guy? What do you like to do? Do you like to go to different restaurants? What's something outside of sports that you really like?
Yeah, I love going to good restaurants. I need to find some good ones here in the Bay Area. Yeah, I'll look forward to that. I'll get a list from you later, Jay. But
nice.
No, I have a 17-month-old at home, and he keeps me pretty busy. So I love spending time with him and my wife, and doing different things with him.
Who was the club you supported growing up?
Tottenham Hotspur.
You're a Spurs fan. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
Killing me from the cup final, man. But listen, you feel good. You can feel good for Spurs fans, the lifelong.
It doesn't happen very often, right?
Nah, man.
A moment in the sun when it comes,
You got that right. Rowdiesoccer.com for all the information. Listen, the team is going to be on the road for a while, but of course you can catch them always on Tampa Bay 44. This game's on ESPN Plus in San Antonio Saturday night. It's a little bit of a late one, 9 p.m. There's 5 games before the next home one. August 16th, I'll be there. Saturday, it's a late one, 9 p.m. against Phoenix Rising, and it's going to be on ESPN2. That one is going to be, I cannot wait for that game. Going to be amazing. Well, Coach, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to the Tampa Bay area. We're so glad that you are here. And, have a great rest of your week. Best of luck this weekend, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you.
Top man, Jay. Thanks for having me.
You got it, buddy. Coach Casciato, man, I get excited when I talk to the coaches, and especially when it comes to our Tampa Bay Rowdies, man. The future is bright. Really, really talented guy. Really, really good coach. Cannot wait to be able to see him do his thing. Great stuff. All right, guys, let me see if there's any other information out there I can tell you guys. How cool is that, working with Diego Luna? Crushed it for Team USA. Brent Rooker joins the list of Home Run Derby participants. Really, really good stuff there. I know the Dodgers are struggling right there, but I'm not worried about that at all. Finally, before we go, again, shout out to my guy, Honest Hammer, construction, custom builders, licensed, insured, and bonded general contractor. Residential, commercial needs, give him a shout. 813-244-0956. You don't want to deal with a lazy. You don't want to deal with a lying hammer. You want to deal with Honest Hammer. That's our guy, Russ. 813-244-0956. Right there. Hit up that QR code. Guys, thank you so much for all of these super chats. Look at what you guys have been able to do. So Jeff Taylor and Chan Leonard and Greg DeCruz and Lady Evil and Robert Cochran, our guys, thank you so much. Every little bit helps when it comes to these super chat guys. That's how we're going to keep this bad boy going. We are working on t-shirts. Jeff Taylor, that's something I'm going to be working on during my vacation, coming up with a slogan, coming up with t-shirts, and then we'll go from there. It'll be an online store, so it'll be easy for you to order the shirts and share them with your loved ones. A big thank you to all of our guests today, Marc Topkin and Coach Casciato. I mean, this guy, I think the sky's the limit. Coach Dom and the crew, I can't wait for the next Rowdies game. I will be there very, very soon. Follow me on all social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, Instagram. I am everywhere. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Let's keep those subscribers up. Last time I checked, I was getting close to 1,600. Our goal is to get 5,000 by the end of the year. Can we do it? Hopefully we can. I am off for the next 2 weeks. I travel to Alabama tomorrow morning, so no show tomorrow. No show for the next 2 weeks. July 28th, I will be back right here in the chair. Bucks training camp, a lot of stuff going on. I thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jeff Taylor, for all the kind words. I love this, man. This is really, really good stuff. Thank you very much. Everybody have a safe, a happy, a healthy weekend, and we'll be rearing and ready to go, baby, on July 28th, Tampa Bay Buccaneers training camp. I'll be flush with tan probably from being on the baseball field and being with my family. Uncle Jay putting the hat on. Let's get ready to roll. I love you all. Thank you so much. I'll see you in a couple weeks right here on the Jay Recher podcast.